But first, there's a personal anecdote. Before leaving Hawaii, after being constantly in the presence of Divine Mother for 7 years, she said to me, "You don't need me anymore, but just be careful you don't leave your body." I went back for another 2 years to visit her often, but instead of sitting beside her, as had been for those years, I sat at the back of the room, behind every one other of the followers, the disciples, and I did not, as others did, go up to her after the meditations to give the salutations and thanks. Perhaps the question can be asked of you, why was this so? We've been looking at the word devotion, and the question is asked, what is it that is there for us when we have nothing to be devoted to? What does this word devotion mean when we no longer have an image, a being, an icon, a chosen ideal, a living Guru to be devoted to? What remains? There's a story about a very poor incense seller in the great city of Madras, and so poor was he that he had to indenture his youngest son, Goraksha, he was called, to become a cowherd for a farmer. Now Goraksha, even though being a young boy, enjoyed being a cowherd. He loved the fields, the fresh air, the smell of the grass, the trees. But one day when he was sitting under a tree with several others of the cowherds, there was a great rumble in the sky, and when they looked up, there was the God Asinta appearing above them. And this great God pointed and said, "Do you see those vultures flying yonder? There, where they fly, lies a prince who has been dismembered, his arms and legs severed, the life-blood seeping from him. Who will go to his aid?" And immediately, without a moment's hesitation or a thought, Goraksha jumped up and said, "I will go." But then Goraksha said to the great God Asinta, "I will go and do this if you will do my work for me. Take care of my herd." And Asinta agreed. So Goraksha set out, made his way through the forest until he came to the tree under which lay the prince, the blood seeping from his horrendous wounds. Goraksha took his own clothing and bound up the bleeding areas. made the prince comfortable, and then returned to the field where Asinta was taking care of his herd. Now the god Asinta said to Goraksha, "Would you give your dedication and devotion to the task of taking care of this prince?" And Goraksha said, "Yes, I will. The farmer gives me food morning and night. I will share this with him." And the Asinta said, of course, his cares must be taken care of. He has to eat, drink, and defecate. So every day from that time on, Goraksha every day left his herd in the care of the god Asinta and went to care for the prince, cleaning the excrement, giving him food and drink. And the years passed as they both grew to manhood, 12 long years. One day, when Goraksha went to fulfill his daily tasks, to his very great surprise, there was the prince, with sturdy legs and strong arms, standing under the tree. Laughing, the prince said to Goraksha, "Close your mouth, a fly might fly in." And then the prince said to Goraksha, "I can teach you what my guru has taught me, which has allowed me to again become whole." But Goraksha said to the prince, "I have no need of this. My guru has guided me and given me instruction." And so he left the prince, having fulfilled his task, returning to the field where Asinta the god continued to look after his herd. Now Goraksha reported to the god that now the prince was whole, his task was done. Asinta thanked Goraksha for his dedication and devotion, and proceeded to initiate Goraksha, telling him from that moment on he would travel to give blessing, and his task now was to initiate at least 10,000 souls. So Goraksha, leaving his herd, traveled far and wide, giving blessing, but giving blessing indiscriminately. Everyone who came, he offered initiation to. But then one day, this came to the attention of one of the great gods, who was angered and came to Goraksha and told him that he could not and should not indiscriminately give initiation to all and sundry, that he should take care to initiate only those whose karma ready them for such. After this, Goraksha continued his work. He became known as the keeper of the herds, and his work is still continuing today. Dedication and devotion, like those many other words that have lost their meaning for us in the sense of that conditioning of language that has allowed us to interpret words by that conditioning and learning. Hope, trust, faith. And now we look at devotion, dedication. What meaning do they have for us when we have no longer something to be dedicated or devoted to? Like the words faith, hope, longing. What does devotion mean for you now?
In the past, when we were devoted to something that was distracting, because everything else is ignored.
Yes.
So it's changed like that.
We became one-pointed, didn't we? Focused on that something. And now there's not a something. So where is the passion? Where is the longing gone? When we no longer have a goal, a purpose, a path, what remains for us? Where are we? Devotion. The very word brings a feeling, doesn't it? The very word brings a feeling, but is not projected to anything. So what is this? What is this then?